My name is Cecilia Marinier. I work with the RSA Conference. I work in multiple capacities for them. And one of them that I work on is the RSAC Security Scholar programs that we launched 4 years ago. This program identifies students from across the United States, from different universities, and we invite them in and we curate an experience for them. And that's what this is about. This is about talking about how we built this very diverse community. So I'll get started. So Sebastian Junger wrote in his book, Tribes, if you want to make society work, then you don't keep underscoring the differences or the places where you're different. You underscore the places where you, with your shared humanity. And this is important. So tribes are important. We're very comfortable in tribes. So I'm going to give you, my first one is my familiar tribe. So what you see back here is my grandfather, Gunnagle, who came from Ireland. Of course, he worked for the New York Fire Department. Next to him is my grandfather, Ed Murtaugh, who worked for New York Police Department. My father worked for the U.S. Customs Agency, so it's not hard to imagine that I actually went back and got my master's in public affairs and worked with U.S. government clients in the past as well. It's something that I'm familiar with. It's my familiar tribe. It's my family tribe. But I also had another part of my past, which is my unfamiliar tribe. And what you're seeing here is I worked for an initiative that was a Israeli-Palestinian nonviolent conflict resolution initiative. Yes, that's a mouthful. Wow. It was a very exciting time to work there. But what happened was in this unfamiliar tribe, I have a very vivid memory of sitting on the floor of the leadership from the Islamic Society of San Francisco. And I'm in a skirt. I am the only woman being served tea from the wife of the head of the Islamic Society of San Francisco. And the group around me were all Muslim men. And the conversation got heated, but because I was there, I was neutral. I was somebody with an outside perspective. And I kind of was able to ask questions and pose a different point of view. I wasn't entrenched. I was Irish Catholic. I didn't have a background one way or the other. The same exact experience happened down in Hollywood when I was with a very large Jewish fundraising group. And again, because I was the outsider, I was allowed to ask questions that others were not allowed to ask. I was allowed to bring perspectives that others didn't bring. And that is the benefit of having an unfamiliar tribe, something that you're not expecting. So I'd like to tell you a story about the conference, the RSA Conference. It started 27 years ago. And the reason it started was because there was an issue around crypto keys and the public and private and open source. And there was a lot of people who were complaining about what they should do with crypto keys. So Jim Bizdos, who was the head of RSA at the time, had decided that he was going to put together a conference where he was going to invite stakeholders from across the different interest groups to come and have a conversation. The only way that you're actually going to have a conversation is if you have the different stakeholders in the room. So he invited people from the government. He invited people from the private sector, from Oracle and Sun and RSA. He invited people from academia, from Stanford and Berkeley. And he even invited people from the EFF and the Well, if you're familiar with the Well, to be part of this conversation. So 60 people are sitting in the room. Several of them are up here. Maybe you know some of them if you're familiar with the industry. But he did something here that was unusual. And by bringing people together that were coming from different tribes, from different areas and different focus, he had an open conversation where they were actually able to discuss this particular issue in greater detail and come up with better solutions. And that broke down barriers. And by breaking down the barriers, people started to become friends in a new way and build a new tribe. And this is the foundation that we used when we were talking about building out the RSAC Security Scholar Program. As I mentioned, it's a program where we invite the 60 top scholars from across the United States. So let me just share with you a couple of things on how to build out this program, because I'm pretty proud of where it stands today. The first step is to begin with the end in mind. You have to define what is the end goal. What do you want your particular group to look like? And for us, there's two aspects. One is controlled diversity. The controlled diversity means that you look for universities across the United States. It's public, private, and military institutions. And then you have to look at their different programs. So anything from cryptography down to social engineering over to political science and sociology. You're looking at the different kinds of programs. Again, controlled. You might look at the different levels. You're looking at bachelor's degree, you're looking at master's degree, you're looking at a PhD. And then finally, you're looking at the career paths. Like, where will these students end up? Will they go to the private sector? Will they end up in the public sector? Or are they going to be in academia? And those are the things that we could control. Those were the items that when I was looking for the schools and identifying them, these were the aspects I was looking for. Now let me show you what desired diversity looks like. This was a class from 2018. As you can see, it's extremely diverse, and I'm really proud of it. In this class, we have, in the past 3 years that we've run this program, we've had students as young as 19 and students as old as in their 50s with grandchildren. We've had 30% women, 30% people that come from outside the United States. We've had people that have served in the military and for the Army and the Navy, as well as in the National Guard. And we've had people on the spectrum. Am I speaking too quickly?
No, I was going to ask whether you would prefer questions during or at the end.
You know, ask them during. It's fine. It gives me a breather.
I'm curious about, since you're talking about the kinds of diversity and the choices you've made around, I'm guessing, percentages and balances of diversity, how you identified the initial categories, how you challenge those initial assumptions about the categories so that you can find your own blind spots, and then how you played with the ratios to figure out where the right balance was, and then pull back to whatever, assuming you went past in one direction and came back maybe.
No, this is the same amount. For the past 3 years, I've had about the same amount of women. I've had the same amount of students that were from outside the United States. So let me share with you then step 2, because that's how I did it. I engaged the stakeholders. I do not identify the students. I ask the directors of the schools to become my partner in identifying these diverse individuals. I share with them what the program was, and who you see here is Dr. Dina Heritos Tesmidis, and she is the director of the Information Networking Institute at Carnegie Mellon University. And Dina actually said it best, so I'm going to even pull back, because she said that I believe the experience of sharing knowledge and connections within the diverse community is essential to advance our ability to stay ahead of cyber threats. She got it. I asked her. She put 60% of the students that she's sent to me so far are women. She has sent to me over 50% have been international students. So for me, she's exactly the kind of partner I was looking for, and I couldn't do it by myself. She had to understand that the goal here is to make sure that we had as much diversity as possible. And because I reached out to each of these different directors and they became my partners, they all are part of the process, and that's why you get the diversity you get. But you know what? The community doesn't just happen because you have 60 names. The community happens because you build the community. Okay, so now I've got this laundry list of names. What do I need to do next? Well, I've got to curate an experience that's kind of like outward bound for these students so that they want to become part of something bigger, so that they remember the experience outside of it. So the first part is team building. So we do a lot of laughing and we have a lot of silliness, and you come into the room and it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, or what level of education you're at. We just give you a bandana, and then you have to find your group, and that means that you start at ground zero with everybody. And from there you have alumni events and other kinds of touch points during the week. The second thing you have to do is you have to have them learn. These students are conditioned to learn. They've been learning for the last 4, 6, 8 years. So by having that kind of experience, they're ready to go. And so the RSA conference has over 400 tracks. It has, 400 sessions and 22 tracks. And the greatest part about this conference is what I tell these students is take advantage of it. It's a very unusual opportunity where if you're studying cryptography, you can actually, I just talked about you.
I'm sorry.
This is Dina, and she's right here. And she gets it. You see? Like she's even here.
She's awesome. What she's done is awesome.
See, I didn't even prompt that. I didn't include that in the quote either. But anyways, they're ready to learn. We ask them to go out there. Not only do they learn through the tracks themselves, but they also are learning from each other. We host a poster session, and who you see here is Dylan speaking to Pei Ting. She's from Purdue. He's from North Carolina Agricultural and Technical University. And in this process, again, by sharing and building to get the connections together. But I probably think the most important aspect is actually creating an unusual experience that they can't get anywhere else. I mean, coming to conference itself, being part of this elite group of students is just the first step. In addition, we continue to build up opportunities where it's just like if you went to Paris and you went up with a group and you saw the Eiffel Tower and you learned from somebody, and then you come down and you're like just chatting with somebody that you've never talked to before. but they shared that experience with you, it kind of shocks you into becoming friends quickly, and you build out these common experiences throughout. So after you've curated the shared experience, you have to establish a potential network. This is why the students come. And this is what the conference offers. We have the top experts around the globe in all the different aspects about cybersecurity coming to the conference. And our goal is to have a network that the students can interact with that will become part of their career. They're in different industries, different verticals, different backgrounds, and they match the diversity of the conference as well as matching the diversity of the security scholar in general. So you can see across there, we have a CISO, we have a CTO, we have a blogger. It's across the board kind of diversity. But you also have to have people who believe in what you're doing. And I'm going to let Dmitry Alpetovich, I'm hoping this works. Let's see if I can figure out how to make it work on my computer here. Dmitry actually speak to you guys about this. Let's see if I just hit it. Nope. Apologize. Here we go.
Look at this room, and there's one thing that strikes me that I think is so phenomenal is that there's so many women here. And when I look at this panel, we have four guys and one woman, which is fantastic, but we need more women. And it's great that the next generation of cyber warriors are much more balanced and much more diverse. I think that's fantastic.
So Dmitry, if you're unfamiliar with him, is the CTO of CrowdStrike. He was one of the leading experts that uncovered the DNC hack. And every year that I asked Dmitry to come to speak to these students, he is hands down right there. I just put it on his calendar basically at this point because he believes in this mission. He understands what we're looking for the future. And it's pretty exciting to have those kind of, again, partners. We have the partners at the university, we have the partners and the experts, and we're hoping that we can build out more. So the other part is, I was mentioning that Dmitry is part of this panel. Up here you see across the board, this is the first woman CIO of the White House. Ben is a venture capitalist and an entrepreneur. Next to Dimitri's over here, on the end over here is General Alexander, who's a four-star general. The four-star general of who ran Cyber Command up through 2014. And in the middle is Chris Young. And Chris is actually the CEO of McAfee, and he was on our keynote stage. And he came down from the keynote stage and he sat at the lunch with the students. And as we were walking into the room, one of the students came and pulled me aside. He was like, "Oh my gosh, when I saw Chris Young up on stage, I thought, heck yeah, I can do that too." And that's having a mentor that looks like you, that thinks like you, that acts like you, that you can emulate. This is somebody that he can look up to, and he felt very comfortable with that. But sometimes a networker has to be with people that are very different from you. And this picture, this is the one that touches my heart and makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing. And in this picture is Adi Shamir. He's Israeli. He's here in the green shirt. He's the S in RSA. And he's surrounded by five Iranian students. And this picture was taken about a month after the current administration put out a travel ban, saying people from different countries would not be able to travel to the United States. And a lot of these students were currently in a period where they weren't sure what was going to happen with their own visas, and they were feeling very uncomfortable. And in the process of coming to this conference, they all came. They sat down in the keynote room as well, and Adi was up there with the cryptographer panel. And Adi's question was, where do you see the future going with shared education and shared ideas across borders? And Adi's response was, science transcends nationality. It transcends political environments or politics in general. And it's about just finding an answer. And he related a story about a professor that he had worked with in Tehran, who had worked on a similar kind of issue that he worked on. And he said at the end of the day, it was just about solving a problem. And the Iranian students came up to me afterwards and said, it's been a rough month. It's been a long month. And when Adi said that, I almost cried because he felt like this is the common humanity. He goes, we are here because we believe in the science. We're not here because we're Iranians. And I think right there is finding that common goal and creating new tribes across all different backgrounds and education and across everything. So the final step of creating a diverse community is building lasting connections. So we have a private LinkedIn group. We're trying with meetups. And this is still a nascent organization, so we haven't built out the entire infrastructure around building lasting connections, but it's got a good start here. And so I'm going to let Elaine Sedenberg, who is a Security Scholar from 2016. She's a PhD candidate at UC Berkeley studying security and privacy. Tell you just a little bit about her experience. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm going to share with you this. Hold on.
Security Scholars program does a great job of building a community among peers. So you have people who are from similar academic backgrounds but from different schools. But they also introduce you to a lot of experts. So you have dinner with people. Usually they pair you with people you've read their book.
Right.
You're able to start talking to them about their work. But I think it's been great coming back this year because I recognize people in the hallways. And it seems that's when I talk to people who attend this conference every year, that's one of the best parts is It's a time when everyone's in the same place here in San Francisco. You get to see your colleagues from across the country or even across the world. And so it makes you feel a lot more comfortable.
So in closing, I just want to share another little vignette. And this was in my conversation with Kim Jones he's a cybersecurity veteran, and he launched the Arizona State University Cybersecurity Education Consortium. And he and I were talking about the program and what we're looking for, and he's like, absolutely, I totally believe in what you're doing. This is exactly the kind of approach I'm taking to my consortium. It's an approach I've been talking about in the industry writ large. He said, listen, most of my CISO peers view cybersecurity the same way I do, as a meritocracy. We genuinely and sincerely don't care about your race, creed, color, gender designation, sexual orientation, etc. If you like hard work and stopping bad guys, there's a place for you in our ranks. And this is what's so incredible. The cybersecurity is a tribe that's open to all. This is our future. This is who they will be coming up in the future. And we did it in this particular case by building a very principled community. So you start with coming with the end in mind. What do you want it to look like? The second piece is engaging the stakeholders. The third piece is curating an unusual experience that will make it so that they have a shared common goal. The last is that you get them with mentors that will challenge their thinking as well as be part of their thinking. And the final piece is just building lasting connections. So in closing, as you leave the room today, I want you to think about the kind of tribe that's your familiar tribe, the one that you feel very close to, that's very easy for you to be part of. And then I want you to think about your unfamiliar tribe and think about what makes it unfamiliar or why it works or why it doesn't work. And see if any of these 5 principles can be applied in order to make either one of those a better tribe. Thank you.